67 murders, 4 years, one man. He wasn't some monster who came out of nowhere. He was a kid who liked making movies, wrote stories in his diary, and just wanted to belong somewhere. But society kept rejecting him, and at some point, he stopped caring about society altogether. Yang Xinhai was born on July 29, 1968 in Jumadian, Henan, China. He was the youngest of 5 children. His family was poor, not just regular poor, but the poorest family in an already poor neighborhood. And from a very young age, Yang understood one thing clearly: the world runs on money, and he had none. Despite all of this, Yang was sharp, academically strong, creative, and genuinely intelligent. From childhood, he had a deep interest in filmmaking and set design. He would write detailed movie histories, stories he dreamed of one day showing in a real theater. His parents and family knew he was different. Not in a bad way, just different, gifted even. But then, one day, while checking his room, his parents found his diary. Inside the diary, they discovered that Yang had filled an entire book with a story of a completely different universe. This world had its own rules, its own religion, its own people, and Yang had given this place a name: Planet of Loss. At first, his parents were proud. Their son, a middle school student, had built an entire fictional world from scratch. That takes creativity, that takes intelligence. But as they kept reading, the pride turned into something else. The main character of this universe, the hero, was Yang himself. And this character was a complete social outcast. No friends, always alone, creative but deeply isolated. Yang had made himself the hero, but this hero didn't do good things. This character committed murders, committed crimes, and always got away with it. The entire story of Planet of Loss revolved around how this anti-hero escaped from every single crime he committed. And it wasn't vague either. The murders were described in precise detail. Street names, exact times, down to the second, methods, everything planned out carefully. This genuinely scared his mother. She feared that one day her son might actually try to do these things in real life. Yang already didn't interact with anyone around him, so she hoped that maybe this was just his way of processing everything internally, his way of letting it all out. For now, that's all it was. He never acted on anything in school. He just kept working on his book. When Yang was 17, he dropped out of high school. He said the noise of other students was constantly ringing in his ears, and he couldn't stay there for another second. He got into a fight with his father, and in that anger, at 17 years old, Yang walked out of his home permanently. He started doing odd jobs to survive. He never stayed in one place for long, which meant he was constantly moving, traveling across China from city to city, town to town. At some point, he needed to travel around 200 kilometers by bus. He had no money, so he stole a purse from an elderly woman at the station. That was his first theft, and after that first one, it got easier. Instead of working, he would just identify a target, study them carefully for days, wait for the right moment, and then steal. He was patient, calculated. He never rushed. In 1988, when Yang was 20 years old, the Chinese police finally caught him. He was sentenced to 3 years in a labor camp and was released in 1991. But prison didn't change him. The moment he got out, he went straight back to stealing. Police caught him again, and this time he was sent back for 5 years. After a total of 8 years in labor camps, Yang Xinhai was finally released in 1996. And something had changed. Nobody knows exactly what happened to him inside those camps. But the man who walked out in 1996 was not the same man who walked in. He was darker, colder, more detached from everything and everyone around him. He didn't steal again after this, but that was not a good sign. That just meant he had moved on to something far worse. Shortly after his release, Yang began stalking a woman he had never even met before. He had simply seen her and became completely fixated on her. He followed her for days without her knowing. Then one evening, he attacked her from behind and attempted to sexually assault her. She managed to escape. She went straight to the police and reported him. Yang was caught, charged, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. But he was released early, after just 4 years, in 1999. After getting out in 1999, somehow, despite everything, Yang managed to get into a relationship. This woman knew nothing about his past, nothing about his charges, nothing about where he had come from, but the two of them fell deeply in love. It was serious. Yang was planning to propose marriage. But before he could, his girlfriend found out about his sexual assault conviction. She left him immediately, and that was the moment everything broke. Yang had already spent years blaming the world for everything that went wrong in his life. But this was the final trigger. After this heartbreak, he became a complete psychopath. He stopped even pretending to hold it together. He blamed society for his girlfriend leaving. He blamed society for his time in prison. He blamed society for his poverty, his loneliness, his entire life. Everything was society's fault, and he decided he was going to make society pay. From 1999 to 2003, Yang Xinhai went on one of the most devastating killing sprees in Chinese history. He targeted random people, mostly young women. Before killing them, he would sexually assault them. Families were not spared either. When he attacked a household, he killed everyone inside: men, women, elderly people, young children, babies. Nobody was left alive. To cover his tracks, he would either burn the house down along with the bodies or carry the lighter bodies to a nearby river and dump them. He was careful about one thing. He never used the same weapon twice. Axes, hammers, shovels, whatever he could find. He switched constantly so police couldn't identify a pattern linked to one killer. He also always wore white gloves while committing the murders, and he would leave those gloves beside the dead bodies every single time. And then there was his most disturbing habit. Every time he killed a family, he would steal their clothes before leaving. He would wear those stolen clothes until he killed his next family, and then steal those clothes and discard the previous ones. This constant switching made it nearly impossible for witnesses to give police an accurate description of him. Because of all of this, Yang walked freely among ordinary people for years. He blended in. Nobody knew who he was. His plan wasn't perfect though. Because he assaulted women before killing them, there was always a struggle. Women fought back. They scratched him, and from multiple victims, police recovered skin cells under their fingernails, which gave them his DNA. They had his profile, they just didn't have him yet. Then came October 2002. Yang targeted a farming family living in a rural area far from other houses. He thought it would be easy. He entered the home, attacked the husband from behind with a shovel, strangled the couple's 6-year-old daughter to death, and then attacked the pregnant woman in the house. The pregnant woman survived. She was hospitalized. And yet, somehow, Yang still wasn't caught. Not yet. November 3rd, 2003. Yang was at a nightclub in Changzhou. He was looking for his next victim. Then police walked in, a routine check. Yang panicked. He assumed they were there specifically for him. He started acting suspicious and tried to slip out through the back door. An officer stopped him. Nobody was allowed to leave during the check. When police ran his name at the station, they found a long list of criminal cases attached to it. 4 separate individuals had already filed reports and given descriptions matching Yang. He was cornered, and in a move that shocked even the police, Yang confessed everything. On November 21st, in front of investigators, Yang Xinhai confirmed that he had committed 67 murders. The station hadn't even received that many reports. The police were not prepared for a number that high. But Yang laid it all out. Every crime, every location. He had primarily operated across Anhui, Shandong, and Hebei, areas where it was easy to disappear after an attack. In 4 years of killing, only 5 people had ever tried to identify him. All 5 had failed. When police asked him why he did it, his answer was simple: because of my hatred towards society. In early 2004, Yang Xinhai was sentenced to death by the Luohe City People's Court. On February 14, 2004, Valentine's Day, he was executed by firing squad. Authorities considered him too dangerous to be executed by hanging. He showed no remorse, not once, not at any point during his trial, his confession, or his final moments. To the very end, he believed he had done nothing wrong. Yang Xinhai was an outcast from the very beginning. He couldn't connect with people. His own family threw him out. Life dealt him a genuinely hard hand. But none of that justifies what he did. No matter how much pain you carry, no matter how much the world has hurt you, you do not get to take innocent lives. You do not get to make a pregnant woman, a 6-year-old child, or an entire family pay for your suffering. That is not strength, that is not revenge, that is just cruelty. The most chilling part of this entire case isn't the number of victims, it's the fact that Yang never once looked inward. Every single thing that went wrong in his life, he blamed everyone else. And that blind, unchecked resentment is what turned a lonely, creative kid into one of the most dangerous men in Chinese history.